Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Shawn, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Kaitlin, do you know what time it is?
Time for another episode.
It's time for another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast all about thinking better thoughts so you can get better results in your life. I'm your co-host, Shawn Feurer.
And I'm your other co-host, Kaitlin Feurer.
I'm throwing her off. I'm doing it out of order.
I like it.
Well, today we're actually really excited to be talking about a topic that this can be one of the most powerful concepts for you as a listener to wrap your mind around.
Well, it's proven to be time and time again.
Yeah, there's science behind it. We're going to call this episode the Placebo Effect.
Yeah, because you are the placebo effect.
You are the placebo. You know, actually, I've been reading a book by Joe Dispenza lately called The Placebo Effect, and he basically says you are the placebo. And before we dive into that, what is a placebo? What does that mean, the placebo effect?
Something not real, right? Not real can do the same thing as something quote unquote real.
Yeah. I mean, for me, and in this book I'm reading, he talks about, it was in World War II, that a surgeon was actually performing amputees on wounded soldiers.
Yeah.
And they ran out of morphine. And he didn't know what to do, and so he instructed the nurse to put saline in instead of morphine, because that's all they had left was saline, and just tell the soldiers they were getting morphine. And they did it, and they found it actually had some impact. Like, they were in less pain as he was doing surgeries, cutting, body parts off. And, this actual surgeon went back to do a study on the placebo effect. And today there's all kinds of science behind it. In fact, we were reading something ahead of time that 60 to 90% of the time, this placebo in a double-blind trial on a new prescription drug, 60 to 90% of the time, the placebo works as well as the actual drug that's being given.
Well, they did a study in 2001 on knee replacement surgery where half of the people got the knee replacement surgery and the other half didn't get the actual surgery. They got put under, they got the small incision, and they were told they had it.
So they woke up with a scar thinking they had surgery.
It. And the placebo group that didn't actually get the surgery reported less pain, faster healing, and they returned back to sports or daily activity without any pain or problems.
Yeah.
Like that was an actual study. It was published in the New England Medical Journal.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think about that, actually the power of the mind. And with prescriptions, the science behind it says that when the body thinks it's getting the medicine, that it kicks some of the chemicals and, whatever goes on inside of the body to release things to help with pain.
It changes our biology.
Yeah.
And it truly does.
Changes the biology the same way a physical pill would change it.
Well, and I actually know people that this happened to. Here in the Salt Lake Valley, there was a oral surgery group that was doing a double-blind study for placebo against a new medication for wisdom teeth removal. And I actually knew someone who they actually did receive the medication, but they had told themselves, I got the placebo, and they were in so much pain, had so many problems, everything like that. Come to find out, later, they did actually receive the medicine that worked.
But they didn't believe
they didn't believe they got it.
So the medicine didn't work.
Yeah, so it can go either ways. But it's so interesting, and this could be one of the greatest episodes that we ever do, because if a sugar pill or a procedure that you actually don't have can heal your body, what else can it do?
Yeah, what else can belief? Because placebo is belief, right?
That's all it is. You have to, what you believe.
It's what you believe. And I want to challenge you if you're listening to this, because you can really rabbit hole in your mind and kind of go crazy with it, thinking, how is that possible? How is that possible? But apply this to your life right now. And in mindset, you could argue that everything in your life right now is basically the placebo effect. Whatever you believe to be true is what's showing up right now. Mm-hmm. Your income, whether you're happy with it or unhappy with it, at some level, that's what you believe you're worth. Because if you didn't believe it, you wouldn't keep doing it.
Yeah.
And relationships that you're in, if you have a friend that just doesn't treat you very good, but you keep showing up for that friendship over and over, at some level, that's what you believe you deserve in a relationship, in a friendship. I mean, your whole life around you is basically a mirror of whatever you believe. And
this is a funny example, but I remember when I was potty training my girls, Holly was potty trained within 3 days. No problem. I was just I read a book. It's called like 3-day potty training or something. You just don't leave the house for the first 2 days, and the next day you do, and they're fully potty trained. And it worked amazing for Hallie. And so then when it came time for Harper, my sister-in-law at the time was like, well, of course it'll work for Kate. It always, whatever, she gets whatever she wants, whatever she believes, it just happens. And I was like, yeah, 100%. Harper was potty trained fully within 2 days, no problem whatsoever, because I believed it to be true. I transferred that belief onto the girls and never had an accident, never had issues. Like people I know
How long does it normally take? It's been a long time since I potty trained.
Some people,
it takes a lot longer than that.
Some people, months, years. Like it can take so long for them to do that. And I'm like, they think I'm crazy when I tell them that happened. I'm like, it did. Like if you were in my life at that time, you saw it. Like it's just what it is. I believed that's what it would take. I believe that to be true. Transferred that belief, because transference of belief is a huge tool we can use to, influence others. And it worked. And that's such a silly example, but that could bring, if you're the listener and you have a small child, you're like, hey, I could do that too. You really can. I proved it.
Yeah.
Over and over, right? And that's just one simple example. But this just goes to prove, and it's so funny because our work, people could just say, oh, it's all just a placebo.
Yeah, I've had people, even other coaches and energy workers, say that, well, Shawn, you're just teaching people to chant affirmations, and it's like a little boy chanting in the dark, and it doesn't really work as people that chant in the dark,
yeah,
sing songs to themselves of, I am powerful, I am amazing, write goals and life script letters. It works.
It works. I mean, we have clients that attract their perfect partner by that, their perfect career by that, their annual income, which is more than they ever dreamed possible, just comes faster and easier than they ever expected because of what they believed.
But they had to change what they believed in a lot of times, right, to get the better result. Because if you say you get something new coming into your life, I mean, an example of the placebo effect is actually lottery winners, right? Mm-hmm. You have somebody who's in poverty that wins the lottery, may win $100 million, and statistically within 5 years, 60 to 70% of those people will lose all the money.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, it goes back to what they believe. What do they have as far as self-worth and self-love? What do they believe about investing? Like they just have a different belief system. And on the flip side of that, a billionaire that loses everything or multimillionaire, you hear lots of success stories where they lose everything and they get it back and they get it back. It goes back to what do you believe? What do you believe you deserve?
Yeah. It's really crazy. And so some people think, oh, it's just, so many people say the term, oh, that's placebo effect, like it's a negative thing. If it was a negative thing, why would science and medicine use it so regularly?
Because it's pretty
because accurate. It works. It's proven time and time and time again that this actually works. There's this TikToker I follow, and he's like this chef, and he just beat stage 4 cancer, complete remission. And he tells you, he's like, I didn't change my diet. I didn't do all the treatments they told me to do. I just kept a really positive mindset, and I told myself I was cancer-free every single day. And within a year, he was completely cancer-free. And this is someone that doesn't study mindset. He's not a client of ours. He's just a guy I follow on TikTok because I like the way he cooks. And it seems outlandish, but it's true. And these real world examples show up every single day.
And one thing, and I think I want to touch on this, just think about, because there are people that do get terminal illnesses and have things come into their life that they're thinking and trying to believe something different. And sometimes the outcome is they don't make it through. And it's funny, a quote from Wayne Dyer, I was listening to him, and he said, basically, our human existence is a sexually transmitted terminal disease.
Wow.
But you think about it, it is. Like, we're sexually created.
Yeah.
And we're going to die.
We all do.
We all have an expiration.
We all do.
We're talking about belief and placebo effect. There's one belief I have, and that's in a higher power. I call him God. And I do believe when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Mm-hmm. And that is hard to overcome. In fact, in the same episode I was listening to Wayne Dyer, he talked about, he was diagnosed with leukemia, and it was 2 years after diagnosis. And he talked about he didn't know if he was going to make it or not. And he did make it through that. But for the 2 years of the diagnosis, instead of thinking every day he was going to die, he thought every day that he was well. And if you think about that, sometimes we do run into physical circumstances that no matter how hard we believe, we're still dealing with it. Mm-hmm. But what you believe moment to moment is going to change that experience.
Yeah, I mean, it changes our thoughts. It changes our actions. It changes our biology on some level, which is amazing. And even though, sometimes people aren't completely cured of those diseases, they live way longer than expected.
Yeah. And they have a better experience.
Way better.
Focusing on wellness and living than sickness and dying.
Yeah. I knew someone, he was diagnosed with stage 4 incurable lung cancer, and he lived for over 12 years, I think, before he passed away.
What was the original diagnosis? A year or two, if that?
Oh yeah, within months. And he was a very positive thinking guy. He knew he had more to do on this earth. He knew he had, they had another child in that time. He knew he wanted to see his kids grow up, and he did all of that up until it was his time to go. But if he had played into, I only have a few months to live and that's just what's going to happen, he would have been dead within those first few months. Absolutely, 100%. Because there's a dark side of this too, right? I know people that are like, oh, I can't take that medication because it's going to give me all of these side effects. And, they take one pill and within a few minutes, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm breaking out in hives and I'm having all of these side effects.
That I was told were going to happen. So I believed it.
So I believed it, right?
It happened to me.
Or, people that are like, cancer runs in my family, so I know I'm just going to get it. And they end up getting it like so fast and way earlier in life than even predicted, because they told themselves over and over that it was going to happen. They believed they were going to get it, and it happened. So it just really goes back to whether you believe, whether that's a good thought, a bad thought, a positive thought, a negative thought, a positive outcome, a negative outcome. Whatever you believe comes true.
Well, and kind of rabbit hole on that a little bit, what's the difference in being stuck and being free?
What is the difference?
What you believe.
Yeah.
What you believe. Because I know people that have been in a situation that you would say they were stuck, but they didn't believe that. They believed they were free. They held a placebo, a different idea in their mind. And yeah, they were stuck for a little while, but they didn't feel stuck at all because they were believing in freedom. They were believing in something on the other side. And I know people that have believed they were stuck and stayed stuck for most of their lives.
Yep.
Because again, what do you believe? Because whatever you believe, applying this idea or concept of placebo effect, whatever you believe is going to come true. If you believe you can make more money than you ever thought possible, I guarantee you can.
Yeah.
If you believe you can be happier and healthier in an existing body, no matter what the condition is, you probably can. If you believe you can attract better loving relationships than you currently have, I believe you can. And again, where does my belief come from? Proof?
Yeah.
Like a living, walking proof of, I started quite a few years ago on this mindset journey, and the physical world on the outside was telling me something different. And if I would have believed it, I would have been stuck in it. But instead of being stuck in it, I believed something different. And, the crazy thing when you really lean into it is when you have your own placebo effect and you decide you believe in something amazing and possible for you, you're going to have some haters. You're going to have some people tell you can't do it. You're going to have some people maybe laugh at you, make fun of you. It's going to go back to, well, how strongly do you believe it? Because if you believe strong enough, it doesn't matter what the world around you says. It matters what you say. It matters what you believe.
And what you believe causes you to take action. I mean, another funny example is when we would do our showcases for cheer, right? Have to set up all the mat, bring them all the floors, the tumble floors and mats from the gym, set them all up. And then at the end of a long day of doing showcases for all the cheer teams, 15 plus teams, having to take those mats down, take the floors down, disassemble them, take them back to the gym, do it. It was an exhausting thing. And every other coach and even the owner was like, nobody likes to help us. Nobody wants to do this. Parents don't help us. The cheerleaders that are supposed to help us don't help us. Like, nobody helps us. It's just, we're going to be there all night. I remember one time going, well, there's a bunch of guy cheerleaders. They're strong. They're standing around doing nothing. I'm going to go ask them. They're like, oh, go ahead. And one coach was like, I'm sure they'll do it because Kaitlin just believes they're going to do it. And Emily's like, we're not paying them. Like, we can't pay them to do it or whatever. So I walked up to them and I said, hey, you guys can have open gym free all this month if you come help us do this all tonight. They were like, okay, great. And they just started doing it all. And they were like, how'd you get them done? I'm like, I gave them free open gym. It's like 4 guys. Like, that's going to be easy. But I believed it didn't have to be as hard as the story that everybody was telling me it was going to be. And it was done so much faster, efficient, or we didn't have to do as hard of work because we had 4 very strong boys helping us with all the things. And it just goes to that, like, you just have to believe that there's a different way. You have to believe that certain things are possible than maybe the stories you're currently being told or telling yourself.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from Bob Proctor was, if you're going to doubt anything, doubt your limits. And
yes.
if you think about it, when we're talking about belief, usually when we're limited, it's based on a limited belief. It's somewhere somehow along the way we got programmed that we could only earn this much money, or we could only expect, I know there's genetics in families, but there's a lot of families that you see that they have a history of some sort of ailment. And someone in the family comes along and believes something different and defies all the odds. And it is, I think right now, our worthy goal for this company, what we're trying to build with SFC that owns Inner Blueprint, the program, and the podcast, is a global company that impacts hundreds of millions of people worldwide. The physical world right now could tell us that that's going to be challenging.
Yeah,
that's not
there's no way you two can do that.
That where we are, that there might be some limits that we run into. And that may or may not be true. I don't know. But I believe differently. And because I believe differently, I get to experience it every day. Like, we're not there yet. But this morning I woke up, we're recording a podcast right now that gets to impact people. To me, I believe that's an alignment for hundreds of millions of people. If one person listening to this, one person, one of you, take some action to change a belief, create your own placebo effect, then I'm on my way, and I get to experience what that feels like right now. And again, the logical, well, you don't have the money yet. Well, you know what? For one, the money isn't as important to me
it's
as
just
the
money.
impact.
We'll make more.
And I believe I'm having the impact that we're trying to create. So
yeah,
love it.
And this goes, a way that we really lean into the placebo effect are through affirmations. And those are pretty easy to have not instant, but pretty quick results from. Sometimes instant. I'm not limiting you. Like, no, please.
No, I've seen people have a paradigm shift just by assuming a new affirmation or assuming a new way of being.
Yeah. And because you're writing down things that you don't currently believe about yourself, that aren't true yet, that aren't real yet. And by writing them down and saying them, they become true. They become real. They become yours. And it's amazing to see how that shows up in people's lives. It shows up every single day.
Well, I think there's a big difference between what you know and what you believe, because there's lots of people.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, it's a phrase we use often. It's the knowing doing gap. But people know certain things, and you could say, well, yeah, I know I should exercise, but if you're not exercising, that goes back to what you believe. Mm-hmm. And you probably need to change something different. And maybe we should rabbit hole here a little bit, because what you believe is programmed, right? What you believe isn't actually yours and isn't actually true for you.
There was a hotel maid study done where they told hotel maids that, they told half of them that the work they're doing met every physical
requirement for burning calories,
getting in shape, losing weight.
It basically counted as a workout.
Counting it as a workout, and that it lowered stress and it was, really good for you. And then they didn't tell the other half that. And the half that they told that, lost weight, had lower levels of anxiety, lower levels of depression, lower levels of cortisol in their body. They had and better body composition, better muscle composition, because they were told that. And I just think, how many times do we do that, where we're told something's going to be hard or that we're going to do something that's not going to make a difference, so then it's hard and it doesn't make a difference. If we change the way we look at it, then it becomes a completely different result.
Yeah, and when we say change the way we look at it, it's change the way you believe about it. I mean, another example of this is the 75 hard challenge.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You and I first met, you told me about Andy Frisella. You told me how hard it was.
Yeah.
You tried it a couple times and hadn't succeeded. And it could be argued that it is hard. It's definitely challenging. And we kind of created our own placebo. And me and Kaitlin and our friend Janitha decided, the three of us, to do it, to hold each other accountable. And as a mindset coach, and you guys were just kind of starting to study the material, I said, hey, I believe that it's going to be whatever we decide. So let's make it easy. And we literally nicknamed it 75 Easy. We're doing 75 Easy. And it was still challenging. And there were some days it was probably still pretty hard. But that wasn't what we believed. We believed we were doing something that for us was going to be easy. And in that belief, we completed it.
Yeah, I mean, we did everything to a T. I mean, we did the app every day. We checked off everything. We didn't even kind of cheat on anything. And because we told ourselves it was easy, it actually was easy. And it was so funny because I remember going, it was told 75 days and that creates a new habit. And I was like, where's the science behind that? Because, big fact finder here. And I remember afterwards I read, and Andy Frisella actually was like, well, I came up with 75 days because he had 76 days till he had this big event he had to be at, and he knew he needed to be in better shape because he was going to be speaking on a bunch of things. So he kind of just came up with the number. I mean, he actually just came up with the number 75 hard. There was no science behind 75 days, but it's crazy how that really changed us, and it became more of a habit. Now Shawn and I follow 75 hard.
Yeah, one of the things was not to drink alcohol, and we really haven't drank since then.
Haven't drank since then.
I've drinking a gallon a day every day since
Gallon
then.
of water every day since then. We do 2 workouts a day most days, you know.
And I
one of them's outside with
pretty much
walking,
every day,
reading
yeah.
every day. Like, there's so many things that we do that just became habit because we believed that they were habit. You know, even when I had to go back and check the facts on it, I was just like, no, because I made it a habit because I was told 75 days would change my life, and it did. And it really did, and it's something that even to this day, 3 years later, we're still living.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And again, we didn't believe it was hard. We believed it was easy. We made it as easy as possible for us, and we created some really healthy, positive habits.
It completely cured my addiction from sugar.
Yeah.
I'd never gone without sugar for more than like a day.
Yeah.
And now I don't crave sugar. I used to just live off candy. Like, that would be my meal for the day, was like some red vines. Like, that was what I'm eating. And now it's like we buy candy if it sounds good, and it sits in the pantry for months until I throw it away because it's like, well, I don't even want it anymore.
Yeah.
Where that would have never been a thing in the
happened.
past. Never, never, never.
So again, really, as you're listening to this, think about your beliefs. What do you believe is possible for you? And where you limit yourself? And a lot of times, and this is nothing against family, but we have generational beliefs that are programmed into us. You know, you look at a family of servicemen, they all served, so they're called to serve. And some families, they're all doctors, right? And
Yeah.
in our world, you know, I'm second generation, actually third generation with Ted, of home improvement contractors, right?
Yep.
And it's because what we believed is possible. Because of that belief, we didn't think outside of it for a different path. And inside of that belief was our belief about time, money, relationships. And so really take a look right now and say, if I was going to create a different placebo for myself, what would that look like? And, you know, we did an episode that dropped probably right before this on writing it down. One of the first steps to changing a belief is writing the new belief down. What do you want to believe? And again, you don't have to have 100% belief now. Right now, it's an idea. It's fantasy in your imagination. But that's the starting point. You know, you look back at it, and we've used examples in the past from the Wright brothers, bicycle mechanics that wanted to fly. They had that idea. They made it a belief, and nothing was going to stop them. Henry Ford in the automobile. Edison in the light bulb. I think 10,000 failures to get a light bulb to work. 10,000. Think of how many times you tried before you quit. Most of us tried 2 times, if that. 10,000 times. What's the difference between 2 times and 10,000 times? It's what do you believe? And if you have the belief in you, in what's possible, and use the power of your mind to repeat that belief, to write it down, to do some goal setting, some affirmation work, a little bit of gratitude on top of it.
Well, this isn't something new you have to learn. It's something you have to remember, because even as a newborn baby, I mean, before the age of 1, all you're surrounded with are people that are walking. So you believe it's possible for you to walk. You can't even hold a fork correctly at that age, but you believe you can walk because you don't know any different. And so you walk. By the age of 1, 90% of the time.
And if you watch a toddler learn to walk, it's not easy.
Yeah, they fall down.
They slip, they fall down, they hit their head, but they're not deterred.
Yeah.
And it goes back to how we're designed as human beings. We are goal seekers. You know, once it gets planted in our mind, there's a mechanism. It's called cybernetics. It goes to work to accomplish it. So again, whatever you're experiencing right now, it's matching your level of belief. And if you want more, and I'll challenge you, because if you say you don't, every single living thing on this planet wants more. Not just humans, but animals, plants, more water, more food, more sunlight. It's part of our design as a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
And so get that belief out of you. You do deserve more. You know, for Inner Blueprint, we focus on the trifecta: more money, better health and wellness, and better self-love and relationship with self, so you create better relationships. And in all of those 3 areas, we're trying to get you to raise your belief, to set a new placebo so you can experience the effect. And it's inside out. If you don't believe this, I use this analogy a lot, but I'm wearing a nice black T-shirt. When I brushed my teeth this morning, if I would have spilled white toothpaste on it, I wouldn't have looked in the mirror to try to wipe the toothpaste. None of you would have done that. We change our shirt. And that's how the placebo effect. You don't try and change the outside, you change the belief inside. And when you go inside and look at what do I believe, is it serving me, would changing it bring benefit to my life? And if the answer is yes, then go to work on the inside of changing the belief.
Yeah. And a lot of those beliefs that you have, these self-limiting beliefs, were put into us by people who loved and cared about us, maybe some that didn't show it in the right way. And they're not even yours. They were put inside you by someone else telling you over and over
And they probably
what was
weren't even
done.
theirs. They probably got them from their
From
parents. They got them from their
100%.
parents. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where we get generational scarcity, generational poverty, generational illness,
Yeah.
right? Coming from lifestyles, beliefs, programs, patterns.
Well, and your
that we're all-
belief really creates your reality. I mean, I was told over and over, like, Kaitlin can't hold still. Kaitlin can't hold still. Kaitlin can't pay attention. Kaitlin can't pay attention. And so
like that was a bad thing.
right? And now it's like,
That's your superpower.
that's my superpower. And yeah, I can hold still when I need to. And yeah, I can pay attention when I need to. And I can actually hyper focus and turn into a private detective when I need to, right? On going on a fact finding mission. But I realized, like, those things were put into me. One, they don't have to be negative. And two, those aren't really mine. So why am I making them mine?
And again, if you weren't told these things, you're believing what you were told. It's interesting, just coming to me. There was a story, I read an article not that long ago about a student that wasn't a very good student, didn't think he was going to go to college. His parents got him to take the SATs anyway, and he got his SATs back, and he scored off the charts on it. Mm-hmm. And he got scholarships into college. And because of that test score, he changed his belief. His whole school life, up until 18 years old, he was told he was a bad student. He didn't do very good. All this belief that he wasn't smart, that he couldn't do it. One test score changed his belief. Now, the interesting part of this story is after he graduated, and he graduated because he thought he was smart. He had this piece of paper that said he was
Got into the
top scorer.
colleges because he thought he was smart.
He got a letter from the testing center apologizing they'd sent him the wrong scores. He got somebody else's scores. Placebo effect. They weren't his scores, but he believed they were his. He changed his belief about how smart he was, and he changed his results on the outside because he changed what he believed on the inside.
It's so crazy.
One other thing here, too, as we get towards the end of this episode, I want to think about, we can use the placebo effect for ourselves. We can change the way we believe about ourselves to get better results. There's another way to apply this, and it's actually, the term I use for it is called the Pygmalion effect, and it's how we change and use the placebo effect to believe in others. And one of the examples I've heard is a teacher that was given 20 students and was told that 3 of the students were smarter than the rest.
They were very gifted.
They were gifted, high IQs, higher test scores. These 3 are going to do better in your class. At the end of the semester, the 3 the teacher were told were smarter, better students performed better. In all actuality, they were all the same level students.
Yeah.
None of them had scored higher. None of them. What the teacher believed about the 3 impacted how they treated him every day, how they believed in him, and controlled the results.
So throughout that year, they did get higher test scores. They had higher aptitude. They did much better. They paid attention better. They were better students because she treated them as so. But come to find out, at the beginning of the year, that was not actually true. None of that was actually true. There were no facts to back that.
So how do you apply this? You could be in a relationship, maybe with your spouse, that's challenging. Well, your spouse shows up a lot of times at the level of your belief.
Yep.
And this is a hard one to wrap your mind around, but if you change your belief, you can actually change the result on the outside. If you believe something differently, because again, you create with your belief. If you think somebody is lazy, you're looking for something that proves they're lazy. And so you're not catching them doing anything that would be the opposite. And if you change the story and believe they're productive and catch them doing it one time and celebrate that, guess what they might end up doing more of? That very one thing that you used to believe wasn't possible.
Yeah, that happens
in
over
companies.
and
over. I teach leaders and managers this. What you believe about employees is going to become true. Tell that employee you believe in him. Tell them you hired him for a reason. You think they're going to be one of your top performers. And for a lot of us, early on in my mindset coaching, I had a student, and she was an executive with a big company. And as I was sharing this Pygmalion effect, we were on a Zoom call, and she just got a big smile, and I called on her. And she said, oh my gosh, she goes, I didn't realize that's what happened to me. But when I was an 18-year-old, I started this company as an entry level. And my very first manager pulled me aside and told me I was one of the best employees she'd ever had, that she expected big things. And I'd never had anybody say those things. And because she thought that, I didn't want to let her down. And so literally this manager's belief in her raised her level of performance, not only in that position, but that she ended up climbing the ladder to a very high level. And it all started with one person believing in her. And again, we live in a world, loving parents. My parents loved me very much. They didn't always instill belief. Sometimes they installed the opposite of belief by challenging me, by doubting me sometimes. I mean, I was a dreamer. My mom would always say, Shawn, you got wine taste on a beer budget, kid. You got to get logical. You got to get practical. And I'm glad I didn't always listen to her, because I wouldn't be living the life I am today if I didn't choose, and it was a choice, you all have free will, Choose to believe something different about you. Choose to believe something different about money, about time. You get to choose your beliefs
and about the people in your life.
Shift what you believe on the inside and watch that reflection change to something more beautiful and amazing than you ever thought possible.
Well, I get stories every week from clients, especially the women that I work with, that tell me on a call, oh, my husband will never agree to that. Oh, he'll never do that. I can't have that conversation with him. He's never going to do that. And so I say, do you believe that you deserve someone that does show up that way? And they're like, and we start working on the beliefs themselves. I deserve to be able to have these conversations with my partner. I deserve to have my partner show up in this way. I deserve to have this relationship reflect this way to me.
And as they change their belief, what happens?
The person changes. I get calls, oh my gosh, Kaitlin, we were having this great conversation in the hot tub, and he started the conversation, and we started talking about money and all of these things, and it was the best conversation, and I feel so much better. I never believed it was possible until you told me I did. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty easy, right?
It all starts with you. What do you believe? What do you believe? And if you need to change it, shift it. We share tools on almost every episode. Set a goal, get some I am statements, do some daily gratitude, and think what's possible. Forget the impossible.
Yeah.
Nothing is impossible if you set your mind to it. Dream, use your imagination, do some writing, create a better version of you on the inside, and you'll create a better version all around you.
It's like what Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or think you can't.
Either way, you're right.
You're right. So
placebo effect right there.
Yeah, that's it.
Don't be right on limiting beliefs. Be wrong on that, and be right on building the best life you ever thought possible. If you like this episode, if you got some value, as always, we ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, like the episode, and please share it. Mm-hmm. You know, our hope with every episode is one person gets benefit, but we want to grow that one person at a time to hundreds of millions of people globally. So if you like this message, please share it, pass the word, and as always, enjoy the ride. It's a good one. Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Shawn, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life, and always remind you to enjoy the ride.